Okay, that's awesome. So thanks for joining, everybody. Happy Friday. This is our monthly KW Masterminds. We are talking today about pre-listing presentation, pre-listing conversation, whatever good stuff our panelists are going to share with us. We're here physically in the South Bay office, and we also have Allison over Zoom. So we're going to start with you guys over here. Aaron, Lianne, and Allison Van Wig, as I mentioned, on the Zoom. So give us kind of 30 seconds who Aaron Aalcides is, your background, team, if you may, and we kind of jump into those kind of sessions and questions.
All right. Well, Aaron Aalcides with Alpha Real Estate Group. That is the team here at the office. My background is banking executive, 11 years now doing real estate, and it's been definitely an interesting ride. So now I have 4 people on my team with a on-call part-time assistant.
Awesome. Yeah, and Aaron's here in the South Bay office. Yeah.
His better half. Lianne Gallardo. I work with Kevin, who's hiding in the office right now. Sell with Kevin and Lianne. We've been partnered for what, 5 or 6 years now. Started out in corporate sales, heavily focusing on customer experience, and here I am.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. The better side, I guess, right?
The driver's side.
The driver's side. The driver's side. Exactly. Yes. Thank you. And then Allison on the Zoom. Go for it.
Allison Van Wig. I have a team of 2. It's Tim and I, basically, and been 30 years in real estate, so a long time. Before that, I had a mountaineering shop, rock climbing, stuff like that. So that's.
And before anything, I have to say, Allison is one of the easiest persons to work with. I have had 2 transactions with her, and it's been a pleasure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, thank you. Not everybody says that, because I can be a little bit like, you are way behind on your contingency removal.
Yeah. Well, it's about the standards, right? And to create that kind of brand name. So that's, hey, thumbs up. Keep doing more of that. Okay, so and by the way, whoever is watching us, whoever is here, if you have any questions, right, just let us know. Zoomies, you can type in the chat. I'll make sure I'm gonna follow up what you do. We have over 40 people over here so far, and people still coming, jumping in. So let's just jump into it. Feel free just to talk. When we say, we mentioned pre-listing, right? What does it mean to you to begin with, right? In a sense of like, is that some kind of preparation? Is this a conversation? Is there a system to it? What does it mean to you? Open mic.
I want to get them to wait until I get to the house. So I don't want them listing with anybody else until I have an opportunity to talk to them. So my number one goal is to make them wait till I get there. So how can I entice them enough that they wait till I get there?
Okay.
For me, it's really important to qualify the urgency, the need of where exactly they are in the process, because depending on that, I'll prepare myself for it. Preparation for me, it depends also on the lead. It depends if it's an online lead that I'm just saying I'm going to be in the area. I would like to walk through your house to actually give you a better idea of what the value is of the property. Then by the time I get there, I have agreements and everything ready, and but I'm trying to get there, so I don't send anything ahead of time. Now, if it's a referral or if it's an existing client, then I order a package from a title company that I actually gets delivered prior to. Other than that, it's really a matter of making sure like to my agents, I teach them to find what Zillow says, what Redfin says, what are the prices that they're exposed to be prepared to address that or address that objection even before it comes out.
Yeah, so which we're gonna dive deeper about, like, what's your system is. So you said like research is also part of that. Yeah, awesome.
Real estate for me is just asking the right questions. Just you kind of have to assume that you already know that their motivation is high enough to even ask you if they want to sell or if they want to buy. So you're just asking the questions of like what their motivation level is and stuff.
Okay, yeah, so it's understanding the consumer's readiness.
Readiness, their timeline, where they want to go, and why.
Yeah, okay.
There's a big difference between, you know, when you say to somebody, so where are you thinking of moving? Oh, I haven't decided yet. We're still looking at different retirement places. That means to me, okay, we're 6 months out probably. Versus, oh no, we're going to Mississippi. Oh, where at? Oh, we have our sister in this city and that's where we're going. So that's probably the next 2 months.
Yeah, so can we agree to call this pre-qualifying to some extent, right? Motivation of the consumer, right? So it's part of your pre-listing. Allison, you mentioned something some lines of what Aaron and Lianne mentioned, that for you it's like, hey, they need to wait for me to show up, right? So how do you what's the way to do this? Like, hey, you threaten them, or like what's
It you know what, a lot of it depends on where that lead is coming from. If it's like an internet lead, you better believe they're probably interviewing 3 to 5 agents, because they're going to get probably 5 to 7 calls. So, you guys go there and your intent is to get that listing. Well, if I'm not until the 3rd or 4th day, I've got to make them wait for me. So I've got to give them something that is of interest, that they say, no, we want to wait for this one. And then obviously an internet lead would be different from, say, someone that's in my farm. That's a stronger lead, because I'm more likely to get it because they're calling from a farm piece probably, or they've known me, or a referral, which is even stronger. But I don't like to you should never take anything for granted, meaning don't let the internet don't send more to the internet lead, getting them to wait for you versus a referral. You want to treat both equally, because you don't know. I'm just saying that the referral is stronger, but sometimes it can get away from you too if you take it for granted.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's absolutely, I totally agree with that. And the readiness, one of the things to let's say for them to wait is that especially where the agents, their job is to get the appointment, and as soon as they agree to the appointment, get in and out. Because the more you continue to have a longer conversation, once they have agreed to the appointment, the more questions they're going to ask. That if you give them the answer right there and there, they might consider not letting you come to the property, especially when it gets into commission, when it gets into that kind of thing. One of the hooks that I use is, well, when I get there, I'm going to let you know the main option of being able to sell your house for top dollar in 7 days, which is the marketing strategy that I use and I do day in, day out.
Right. Yeah.
It also depends on the person that you're working with too. Like sometimes they just need to get it out of their system of like the reason why they're selling, like, their spouse just recently passed away and that's why. So a lot of times you have to have your psychological hat to wear and just be empathized.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I usually also ask them, like, what improvements have they done to their house, to get a feel for where my pricing is going to be. But yes, losing a spouse or a divorce, all of that is kind of important. And, if they are divorced, then I may say, oh, is this recent or was it before? And try to, say, well, we need to talk to your tax person about what your tax implications would be, because it goes from the divorce date sometimes. So I'm trying to show a little bit of value on the phone. So they say, okay, this one I like because I want to save money.
Yeah, it's more of an advisor, not just like a salesperson, right? And that's where extra value comes into understanding every situation, and not just But it also sounds like in most cases, right, that you put the tie down to the outcome, which is the price, right? Like, let me show you, right? Based on whatever, once you're gonna meet, what's the maximum that you can possibly net, right?
Right.
And
And we'll kind of discuss improvements that you can do to maximize your value.
And that's actually one of the things that I was gonna say, that once we get there, or at least I mentioned to them, when we meet, I'll be able to advise you if there's anything that the property to use, or maybe we can just leave it as is, especially when they're answering the question about if they have done any type of improvement. They start listing, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. I said, wait until we meet, and then I can advise you what can actually give you the better return.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm the same way.
Yeah. Well, so talking about, I don't know, materials, preparation, what have you, what is it that you're actually sharing, with the consumer, with the seller, with the potential seller before, or, before you are showing up to the appointment, or maybe the day off, etc.
I normally send a text with a business card, and I tell them, I said, I'm gonna send you my business card with my picture so you know who's coming to your house. And also, I'm gonna send you the date and time, and all I need you to do is just say receipts to confirm that you got my information. That's sort of my set way.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I don't want to give too much over the phone, so you just want to ask the pre-qualifying questions like what's your motivation, what's your timeline, and the basics. And then try to get to, also setting the expectations. Feel free to write down all the list of questions so that when we do meet, we can actually be able to discuss this. Also start thinking about like what type of improvements you've done in the last couple of years, so that we can walk there and go over the comps together.
Yeah.
I also properly try to set the expectation every time that when we do meet, we will actually go through the whole walkthrough and like previewing it from as if we were a buyer.
So it sounds like you're giving them also some homework to do.
Yeah, because if they are serious, then they'll do it. Otherwise, you're just like.
Sure. Right.
One question that works to at least my advantage is the fact that I always ask them in the conversation, not directly, but sort of in the conversation, kind of like sneak the question in on what do you think the value of your house is? Because you kind of want to know the psyche of what they're thinking their home is worth, to see if you're going into a realistic, or you're going to have a challenge where they have in mind about what their home is worth.
Yeah, which is always valuable, because you want to get a sense of where they are and who gave them that advice. If it's the neighbor, or if it's a family member, or if it's the Zestimate, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in your case, Allison?
No, I actually do the exact opposite.
Okay.
Because I know what they're thinking price wise, because most of the time they've been on Zillow and they've got a pretty good feel for what their house is worth based on Zillow. So then it's like, okay, how do we either prove Zillow wrong, or if Zillow is correct, then it's like, that's, pretty close. But usually I'll give the presentation, tell them what the home is worth when I'm there. But I know that you agents ask them what the price is up front. And so I will usually say, the price isn't always what you feel it's worth, but what the market will bear. And I know other agents have actually asked you what you feel your house is worth, but really the house is worth what the market will bring. And this is what the market's bringing according to the comps. So I know when they ask you that, they might be trying to get a feel for what you're thinking to be closer to your price to make you happy and get the listing. But we really want to try to maximize your value. And so by looking at the comps and what the market is bearing and what's happening right now is going to be better than asking you what you think it's worth. So I actually do a spin on it, because most agents, 80% of the agents out there will say, oh, what did you think your home was worth, before they even start the presentation. And so I know it sounds mean, but
No, that's a nice spin.
It's true. The house could be worth 800. If they tell you 900, you're not going to tell them 800, because you're trying to get the listing and you're going to be closer to that 900 value. But it's like, it's not worth 900. in this aspect, maybe it's worth 820, and this is why it's worth 820. Now, what did you think the house is worth? Well, we thought we were closer to 900, and that's exactly why I don't ask you up front, because I want to show you what the market will bear. Well, Zillow says, okay, why do you think Zillow says that? Zillow says that because across the track is a different zip code, and those schools are at 9 and yours are at 5. Zillow is getting comps from there. And that's why I'm here, because we want to try to get the most for your house. But if we overprice it and it sits there and we lower the price, we lower the price, we lower the price, even when we get to that 815 value, they're going to be offering less because you've been on the market 100 days. And it's like, well, I'm not in a hurry. I get that. But if you're not in a hurry, I'm not the one to work with, because if you're not in a hurry, that not in a hurry will cost you 100 grand. If you want to sell your house and maximize your value, let's price it right, get an offer within 2 to 3 weeks, and then we have a 30 to 45 day escrow. We're going to maximize your value that way. You don't want to list and list and list and list. It's going to affect your value.
Yeah, what I like about that is that you're positioning yourself ahead of the objection or whatever opinion they have, and not in a sense of hey, what do you think the price is? They're telling you, then you have to defend passively on your price. You're guiding them, you're mentoring them, you're coaching them, what have you, as an advisor of, hey, I'm the professional, this is what it is. And then again, then you can open up the conversation unless they're on the same page as you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why as part of the market analysis, as part of my listing presentation, I print the page of, Redfin, print the page of Zillow, print the page of whoever provides, and you also kind of highlight what the realist says.
Sure.
To kind of see, I mean, the prices are literally all over the place.
Exactly, yes.
All over the
That's
place.
smart.
And also now that I've seen the property, now, this is the property that kind of goes, all of them actually comes better with it.
Yeah.
And then at that time, I, discussed the market analysis once an agreement has come to the listing agreement price.
Yeah, so you're not hiding away from the Zillows or what have you. You actually use it to your advantage, right? To reflect the reality of what probably they're looking at, but then justify the price based on the specific house location, market condition that specific time.
Yeah.
Correct.
A lot of times though, I mean, we make it a little bit more complicated on ourselves. Like most of the times, the sellers who know that their house is overpriced and they want like 2 million for their $1 million house, for example, they already know because they'll go right into it right away. So you kind of get a feel of the people. So that's why in those cases, I try to ask questions up front, like, what do you think your house is worth? Then you start kind of questioning like, oh, what else? Okay, so what have you done? Okay, what else? That kind of makes them think like, oh, house is not worth that. And they usually know. So then just don't be afraid to ask them like, hey, are you open to complete honesty?
Yeah.
And that's when you let it to them, just like, because based on the upgrades, these are what the 3 comps are, these are what the comps are, where do you think your house falls?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I noticed that when I do it backwards, I ask them after. I can tell after I've presented and given them their value that, it's all about body reading and face reading. They're just like, well, but I've already softened it. I've already softened that objection. And I can tell because they're kind of squirming a little bit and they're uncomfortable telling me what it's worth. So it's like, okay, they already know that it's too high.
Yeah.
Yeah, without insulting them. Yeah. Did you want to share something on the screen, Allison?
Oh, I was usually like, I'll send out an email and I'll say, just confirming our appointment for Tuesday at 3. Can't wait to meet you guys. I'm going to pull comps and bring them with me. Here's a few things on the value. So then I might send them a value report of that zip code, homes in that zip code, the Altos report. I get the housing reports from Stephen Thomas, which are $15 a month. Those are real good. So it just depends on the type of client. You know, when you're on the phone with them, if they start listing every single improvement that they've done, they're going to want to see the Stephen Thomas housing report because it's very analytical and detailed and everything else. But if they just say, oh, okay, we'll see you Tuesday, blah, 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 they're not that analytical. They're more, they just want a short email and maybe a one-page Altus report to say, oh yeah, there's a needle. It's kind of in a seller's market. Great. So kind of listen to that personality and then decide what you're going to send them. But just a tidbit of value to say, please wait for me. You could also maybe drop off your business card with some, like, we got little flashlights that we give away. We have pizza cutters with a bottle opener on them. We have pocket knives with our name on them. So if it's in most of my business is very local because of my farm. So I will drop that off the day that they call and just say, looking forward to meeting you Tuesday at 3. And then 2 days later, I may follow it up with an email saying, hey, I thought you might like to see the Altus report or Thomas's housing report, depending on personality. And then we have our meeting. But I think if it's in your farm and it's close to you, just your card with a quick drop off, a pop by, I guess we call them, can make them feel enough guilt that they're going to wait for you.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to wait for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, one thing I can say is that whenever you get somebody to agree to meet, just try to meet with them as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Don't delay it. Perfect example, on Sunday, we're doing an open house and the lady loved the house that we were showing that just opened this morning.
Right.
And she's going, well, I'm thinking of selling. When do you want to she said something to my agent about that she was thinking of selling.
Mm-hmm.
And we would love to come and see the house, see what you're done, and when do you have time next week? And so I stepped in. I go, oh, we actually have time today at 4:30.
After the open house.
After the open house.
Uh-huh.
So I left the agent finishing the open house. I came in here, did the preparation for it, took a listing agreement with it, and by 5:30, she was ready to sign the listing agreement on a condo in townhome in Carson. The son is sitting in the corner and he goes, well, I'm going to sell my property too.
Uh-huh.
And then I told him, well, then I'm not going to go over the agreement. Let's go down to your property and I'm going to go over the agreement with the two of you.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll go ahead and email you via DocuSign your agreement. And we took 2 listings signed.
That's it. No time to waste.
I know time to wait. That was the open house. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. That's great, but it just shows you that, you always want to be ready, right?
Always take an agreement with you.
Yeah, and by the way, do you guys keep, because that's how it used to be in the past, right, before the DocuSign, etc. But do you guys keep anything in your car, like emergency, listing presentation, contract, something? Allison is laughing because of what? Why are you laughing?
Oh, I used to do that. I used to keep all the forms in my car. But now with DocuSign, it makes it super easy.
Right.
Just DocuSign it to them. So I usually just go talk to them. But usually if I do an open house, I'll take some comps with me just in case someone is interested in selling, then I can hand them the comp sheet of what's happening in the area. And I use Cloud CMA. Do you guys use that at all?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that format. It's really nice. And I have all of the interior pictures so they can kind of see how their house compares with that. Now on that Cloud CMA, what you do have to be careful is I recently changed it. And on the description page where it's got the description of the property, it has a listing agent on it now. So I actually take that page out and just use the address and pictures. So take out the description so you're not giving them all of the listing agent's information. Just a quick tip, yes.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
use the summary and everything.
Yeah, Dave on the chat was asking, what information do you use in the pre-listing package?
I use a program called High Note and I have a pre-made presentation in there. So if if I don't have an appointment for say 2 weeks, or if they're out of town and, you know, it's like a trust sale and they're coming next week with their brother, then I will send it to them to share with other members. So I usually say, well, how many people, who is the successor trustee? And if there's 3 successor trustees, then it's like I send them all the link so that they can review it before the presentation, because I know that some might have a friend in the area or something like that. So I have a pre-made list, pre-made presentation, and then I just put the Cloud CMA in there. And then anybody that's not present at the interview can easily open that and go through it. So it'll have the tax records. It will have, actually, let me share the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see your screen right now. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, so this would be something that I would have created if I know the appointment isn't for a week or 2 and it's a trust sale. So it's a little bit of a snippet of get to know me. And then it has the Cloud CMA attached. And then another way to compare home values, what's going on in their market, the tax records, just a little bit about what I do so that they can kind of take a look at that. And then I might send them the average prices in the area, what's happening and what's selling. So it's different. Like if I'm going on a listing appointment in 3 or 4 days, they don't get that. They'll just get a drop off. If they're living at the home, they'll just get a drop off and a quick email. If they're selling a house and it's in a trust and the family's involved, then I'm sending that so they can share it with the whole family. So it just depends on your interview and who the seller is.
And if it's a person in, that lives 2 blocks away from me in a farm, you're not going to email. You're going to wait to.
No, right. I'll just drop something off, a knife or something, and then a nice little card saying, see you on Tuesday at 3. But if it's an estate sale, they would get a trust sale, they would get something like this, or probate would get that so that they can easily share it with everyone. Rentals, where they're evicting a tenant and they're out of state, they would get something like that.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so it just depends on the client as to what I'm going to send them. If I can't get the call back, if it's a internet lead and I've made 3 phone calls and 2 texts and I haven't gotten anything back in 2 days, then I'm going to go ahead and do the presentation and email it to them. And text them and call them that, hey, I just emailed you this, because it's like at this point, if I don't get their attention, I'm going to lose that listing. So I've got to do something that's going to say, whoa, I want to interview that agent. So I have to wow them. So that's what I'm trying to do. So it's like, I'll probably get a 50% text or call back and say, yeah, I just haven't had time. I've had millions of calls, but yes, we want to interview you.
Mm-hmm.
So it really does work if you send a wow factor, if you're not getting an answer in 2 days.
Yeah, it's in the follow-up, right? Like when you browse online to maybe buy something, it's in your basket and you didn't finish the purchase. Oh, you're gonna get those follow-up emails and incentives and then promotions and whatever it is, right? So the same concept. By the way, did you ever have to go and collect your knives back or pocket knives or whatever if they didn't end up signing?
No, they're like, $2 a piece. So it's like, it's a cheap, it's like I've also got some business cards that work really well. They're metal and they're bottle openers. Everybody loves those because it fits in your wallet and they always have a bottle opener. So I will definitely order those again. You just got to find some wow factor. And it's sometimes you can use it to your advantage. If it's like, well, if you like that, that's the same as my advertising for your house. It's got wow factor.
Yeah, one of the things that we do is we actually take a couple of notepads and a couple of branded pens, and that's our gift to them when we meet. So there is no excuse. There's always a pen around to sign the agreement. And then we go into detail. And one of the things, we have a formal listing presentation and a buyer's presentation that we use. What we do is, which depending if it's one of my agents lead, then we just insert their bio and their picture in the presentation. So it's both of us.
Right.
And also, very important, one of the things that I like about the iCloud CMA is that it has the intelligent pricing piece, which I also integrated into my listing presentation, because it gives me an opportunity to bring it back. Because one thing is when I'm going through the listing presentation, then also when I go through the comps, and that's what's is being allowing me for them to buy into the marketing strategy to that if you overprice, that's the worst thing you can do when you try to sell a property. If you put it on market, there's a number of people that see it. But if you actually underprice it by a certain percentage, then the number increase, and that's how we get to generate. In this last listing, we generated 10 offers this past weekend.
Yeah.
So it just happens. And then I go into my calendar, which is this is how things are going to. Once we agree, we go into how it's going to go down practically, when the property is going to hit the market, when we're going to do the open houses, and when we're going to receive the offers, and when we're going to open escrow. And that usually works like clockwork for me.
By the way, do you use I don't know if it matters if you meeting them in person or if you email, sending the report via email, but mostly I guess email the pre-listing package. Do you use like a range pricing or a specific price? And the reason I'm asking, because sometimes you put a price, didn't get a chance to talk to the person to really impress them, and you put a price, let's say even, I don't know, 10,000 less than what the other person told them, you might lose the listing, right? So what are you guys doing about that?
I never put a price on the listing presentation because I always tell them ahead of time, once we walk the property, once you give us a tour of the property, or once you show us the great things that you say you have done to the property, then we're going to have to I'll be able to get more specific.
Okay.
Because at that point I decide which is the best of the comps that I have, which is the one that matches the most to what they have, and that's a good matching argument. Yeah.
Low, medium, high is always best to ask the seller, where do you think your house falls?
Yeah, in pricing or with the comps?
With the
comps.
The comps.
I always tell, I always go through it with them, and it's based on location, what your backyard looks like. Do you have a walk-through bedroom or not? So it's like a 1,200 square foot home is not worth the same as another 1,200 square foot home, even though Zillow thinks it is, because you have dual pane windows, air conditioning, granite instead of Formica. All of these changes make a difference. And then when you walk out your backyard, there's not a bunch of holes. It's a beautiful backyard that is actually additional living space. So all of that increases value. It's really about the ambience of the home and the attention it's going to get on the market. And pricing is not always about what is sold, especially right now. It's what is on the market, because inventory is so low. If I have the only 4-bedroom, it's going to be easier to sell at a slightly higher price than if there's 3-4 bedrooms on the market that are similar. So we really kind of go through that together.
Yeah.
Sometimes depending on the personality of the seller, I used to go, your house is going to enter that beauty pageant. It's going to compete with these other houses.
Right.
See which one wins, and they usually laugh at it.
Yes. Yeah.
Just relax.
The tension around the pricing, etc. Right. I think there was, and we should double check if it was just the question. Oh, it was just Allison putting some of the other notes. And by the way, you can go to any of our hubs, our sites. For example, KW SouthBayHub.com, KW CoastalHub.com, etc. And go to the I think it's in the maybe marketing section, but just look over there, and at the very bottom you have the statistics. At the very bottom you have a link that you can subscribe to Altos report at no cost. We're covering the cost for our sister offices, but whoever is watching us right now, different offices, by all means, please go ahead and use it too.
One of the other things that I add to the package is a sample of the 4-page brochure that I make for each property. For them to see the quality of the marketing, also the quality of the pictures.
Are you using like a past listing, for example? Not okay. You're not really using the subject property pictures if they happen to be in.
No, because I won't have the quality that I would put out normally. So I just use a leftover
Materials. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Lianne is laughing because she never had leftovers. It's all been taken.
Exactly.
Well, I don't need to do them all out to sell it.
Okay. What's for the comeback, Lianne?
I mean, circle prospecting, there's never enough.
Yeah. Exactly.
I have a question.
Question, yes.
Question is for all three. Do you, as part of your pre-listing presentation, do you also provide them with a listing agreement before you actually meet with the sellers?
Not before.
No,
When I was in the very beginning of my real estate career, I used to have that prepared because everyone always says keep a contract in your car. And I still have a blank contract in my car. But one of the things that I transitioned to is don't get ahead of myself. Always be prepared to like answer questions, even if you don't know what the answer is. So what I like to do is I like to prepare the clients and just say like, my job is very important to me and like my value, our relationship is very important. So I want to make sure that I do my due diligence. I want to get fully prepared. So give me a couple of hours, give me a couple of days. And when we meet, I'll have everything fully prepared and ready to go.
Yeah.
the same here. I don't do the listing contract until we get there. And I've been through everything.
Yeah. Can get maybe a bit complicated, right? But again, depends who the client is. Maybe I've seen in the past couple of times if the client happened to be an attorney and they have some experience, they might ask, show me the contract because they have a tendency maybe to want to modify it or what have you. But in most cases, yeah. Another question for you.
I've also had them look at the contract before. The biggest question on the contract when they're first looking at it is they're looking at that commission, and you know how you have the 6 and then you have the 3, and they'll be like, oh my God, it's 9% commission. So I want to explain, no, that's not, that it's divided. But if you send it over and they look at it, what if they just stop calling you? Because they think it's 9%. Like, you got to just be careful with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or whatever other section in the whatever paragraph that might turn them off of it just because they didn't understand, right?
So no, I always have it, but it's in a separate folder, so it's not part of the presentation.
Sure.
It just depends on where the conversation is leading to when I pull it out and ready. I usually, I go all in, so I literally just I put the address or just the pricing and normally I already have built in the commission. So there's no room to write. I mean, practically, whenever there's something to write, there's open to negotiation. It's part of that contract already. Right. I don't. That's one thing I don't do. I do not compromise in commission.
Yeah. And on a side note, whoever's watching us, commissions are it's very brokerage specifics. So we're not diving there because it's every brokerage have a different commissions rules, etc. In KW we have the same rules, but we don't want to go there. Right. It's a part of what we want to discuss. One question for you is I'm going to call it pre-listing conversation on the fly. Right now you're in convention or event, a friend's house, bar mitzvah, party, whatever holiday, and the neighbor happened to be there, and she's expressing her, maybe thinking about, planning to sell the house, maybe family member. You understand like where I'm going with this. What do you do? What's your approach about, the on the fly?
I guide the conversation to them talking, in the sense of I'm trying to find out they don't get very excited about talking about their house, especially if they've done some work themselves. I like to get them in the conversation because by just listening, I'm actually scoring a point with them. And they're so happy to talk about they're so excited about talking about their house too, that they forget to ask me more questions. And I just try to secure the appointment.
Mhm.
Same.
So,
Same questions like, what's your motivation?
Mhm.
Oh, tell me where you're gonna go next, and just say like, oh, okay, how soon are you looking to move? Okay, perfect. That's
Yeah.
me.
yeah, so it's just gonna have a conversation with the person and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Or try to secure the appointment, yeah. Allison, did it happen to you in the past?
I'm more of a, well, what's your, I try to, same as, or just try to make them excited about talking about their house and
Mhm.
pull them into the conversation or where they're going, but try not to be the salesperson. Try to be more the person that's having a conversation with them. And at the end, they'll usually say, well, let me have your card. Or, you could say, here's my card. Or, let me text you so you have my number. And then, let's meet. We can kind of finish this conversation.
Right.
In those situations, I'm using a lot more, let me text you my card. Because they have to give me their number right there to text it to them.
Yeah.
And that usually works really well. And then the way I can actually close that conversation is, God, I'm so excited to see, after hearing you talk about your house, I'm so excited to see it.
Mhm.
And that just, it's about, I'm, like I said, I'm not gonna have a lengthy discussion with them right there and then on an elevator pitch.
Yeah. I assume that you're gonna have it in your pocket already, ready to sign right there. So a follow-up question to that is, we're in the very different market today, right? Historically, one of the lowest inventory on a monthly basis, month over month that we're facing right now. It's still going to be by prediction the third best recorded year in history of real estate in the US. 21 was the best ever. 22 was the second best, and this is going to be the third best year in real estate by volume. But we know the units is not there. But having said that, is there anything, because you guys primarily, listing agents, is there any, when I say listing agent, in the sense of you have more listings that you close versus buyers. Is there anything that you're looking into changing right now, or maybe changed already recently with that approach to go after more listings because of the lower inventory?
Well, that's the one thing that I shifted, especially with the team members, is that yes, we're taking care of buyers, but the buyers come through the listings. So I'm providing leads for listings, not necessarily buyers, because we get the buyers through the open house when the listings get put up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else?
I think AI is a big thing that's starting to come in, and it's going to make blogging easier. It's going to make everything easier. So I think that if you're going to do one thing you want to focus on is learning that AI, and it's not perfected, but it's going to save you time. So if you write a short and sweet listing description and you put it in AI, bang, out comes this fantastic description, but it's not quite right. So it takes you 5 minutes to change, but it would take you an hour to think of that. And it's the same with like a blog or anything else, and getting in front of the consumer. Just listings are the way that you last in the business. Listing agents are lasting agents. So you really have to, I know you like buyers because when you first get in the business, you think buyers are easy and fast and you get your money. But really, if you want to stay in the business, you have to start listing properties.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And if you follow, of course, KW, right, in the red book, MREA, the ratio over there is 2 to 1, meaning if you have a listing, the expectation is to get another listing and 2 buyers, right? To have that 50-50 business. So clearly, you want to focus on the 3 L's, right? 3 L's, which is leads, listings, and leverage, right? So listings is definitely part of a substantial part
And a listing gives you so much to work with. Like you were saying, you have open houses you can do. You can advertise that listing. You can do flyers in the neighborhood. You can knock on doors. It's like you have something. You have some power. When you have a buyer, you just have that one buyer. You can ask for referrals, but a listing gives you so much more opportunity.
Yeah,
And look what happens, you know, they're changing, they're trying to, they've got different things where they're talking about changing the compensation model for buyers agents. You know, they're
right.
trying to, so if that happens, the more you're into listings, you know, if that, it could take 5-10 years for something like that to change. But if you start working on your listings now, it won't even affect you when it changes, because you're not, your business is listing focused as well. If you can get to that 50%, then you'll always have business.
Yeah, and yeah, Heather, correct. Listing equal leverage for sure. And Allison, I mean that's we are right now looking to increase our masterminds or training in the offices to be more listing driven because of what's happening. Even though we also have to remember that's a whole different mastermind, that buyer representation, especially in the United States, didn't just happen by coincidence. There was multiple reasoning for that even to happen to begin with, and I don't think it's going to go going to go away that fast. And if it will have a dip for a minute, I think that people will understand like why it's very important. But I do agree that it's going to make us more listing purposeful, etc. One thing I do want to mention, because you did mention AI, thank you for that. And one of the biggest tools right now being used is the chat GPT, right? GPT with my accent. So I'm right now looking to bring probably in May a training that will train us about how to leverage chat GPT with property listings, bios, market research, social media, content production, client communication, sales scripts, and more and more and more. Pretty awesome company that does it right now. So again, we want to be one step ahead, right? So
Yeah, now you can actually, because I use that for a lot, and also now you can actually use it on your Gmail to actually even to write an email. You can just write an email, but you write the email like
spread it fast. Yeah, I think it's chatgpt.io, not mistaken. So you can look it up. But we're gonna have some training coming up soon that you guys will appreciate. Any kind of last thoughts? Anything if you wanna share before we're gonna let you guys go?
Well, I just want to say that to be able to do listings to do buyers, I mean, you just get on and do the stuff that you don't want to do, which is the lead generation. Especially for new agents. I mean, that's your only job. Just don't be a smart agent, be a busy agent by actually just generating. I keep preaching this, and the reason why is because I don't like to see people so busy learning. I like to see busy making those calls and going those appointments. Doing is key.
Yeah.
And whatever your goals are, double or triple it.
Yes.
Especially in this market. Yeah.
Well, when you say whatever your goal is, in the sense of like the activities or the outcome.
Well, if
Both.
you do the activities, you'll end up get the outcome.
Whatever you were doing a year ago, if you were doing let's say 50 calls, you need to be doing more of 100 or 150 nowadays. And you just have to 10x step it up.
Yeah.
It's amazing because I have, agents that will call me and ask me for help. I'm like, oh yeah, come on in. And then it's like, they'll last about 2 to 3 days because I'm like, okay, let's make calls. Okay, let's go knock on doors. And then the next day it's like, where are you? Oh, I'm busy today. I'll come in tomorrow. And then I stop texting and they never come in again. So it's like, they don't have any business because they're not lead generating. It's like, you have got to don't be a secret agent. That's my number one thing when I train agents is like, oh, I see you're a secret agent. What are you talking about? Well, let's see, your voicemail doesn't have you're an agent. You're not on the internet. You're a secret agent.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, but again, that's what we have the 80-20 rule, you know, as well, in the sense of like, maybe more of a 90-10, in the sense of like who's really get the most benefit. And by the way, on a side note, I mean, the prediction for this year alone, 2023, is for close to 250,000 realtors nationwide, or licensees to drop from the industry, right? I don't know how many predicting to join new licenses, but about 250,000. It's very similar to what happened post crash in 2008 to 29. Sorry, 2008, 2009, or just 2 years, 8 to 10. Sorry, it's big numbers. So it's going to be more opportunities to those who are in the business, but they're going to triple their activities. Yeah, their efforts. Yeah. Aaron, Lianne, Allison, thank you so much. One thing that you want to share?
Yeah, I had a big question to ask. So Aaron was like, yes, I give these 4-page flyers. And they list with him because they like those 4-page flyers, right? And a lot of you think that you don't have to do anything extra. But when Aaron interviews or I interview, it's like, do people want to sell their house with Walmart or do they want to sell their house with Nordstrom's? Like Aaron probably spends $100 making those flyers nice for the house, or maybe $200, but it gets him the listing because it's more of a Nordstrom's experience versus a Walmart experience. This is the most expensive investment you have. Do you want to work with Walmart? Or do you want to work with Nordstrom's? It's just you set how you want to represent your client. So if they want that Nordstrom's experience, then start making it for them by doing something. You should always be looking at the next step and trying to learn it. And some of you say, well, I'm not tech savvy. Well, fine. Somebody else can design a flyer for you. You could think of something else to do that isn't so tech driven, but do something out of the box that think Nordstrom's experience. Music at your open houses. We usually have snacks, music, flyers, and it's like, we don't have the TV on at our open house. We are there to greet people or work. So we're either on our computer working. If there's nobody there, the minute somebody comes in, we're greeting people. So make it, just think Nordstrom's versus Walmart.
An experience.
That's what I was going to say. Actually, even in my past life with banking, I used to teach. I actually developed a welcome home experience. When you invite guests over, I mean, you do everything to make them feel comfortable, and also you have to deliver on that. So when you set the expectations, I'm just letting them know how this entire thing is going to be handled. And a lot of times when I say, by the way, it doesn't matter if if the house is 300,000, which I don't know where there's one, but or it's $1 million. I said everybody gets a professional photographer, gets a room, this is the package. How much is that going to cost you? No, that's on me.
That's experience.
That's experience.
They remember that too. So when they remember that, it's like, hey, you have to work with Aaron. You have to work with them. They're going to tell their friends because it's an experience versus, oh yeah, you're all the same. You're all the same.
Exactly.
Your voicemail's full, you're all the same.
Right.
Don't let your voicemail get full. I hate that. I won't work with you.
Exactly.
Technique number one.
Yeah, well, great point, Allison. Thank you. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for whoever is on the Zoom. You guys as well will be here until the next mastermind. We'll get more listings. Thank you.